In this episode, we're going to attack the guilt that comes sometimes from trying to have this work-life balance. This episode, we're going to dive into maybe where that guilt might come from and what you can do about it. If you want to stop letting your days slip away and start leading your life with intention and purpose to pursue your full potential, then you're in the right place, my friend. Welcome to the Claim Your Day podcast. I'm your host, Nick Mazey. Here, we stop just managing our demanding lives and begin to actively pursue our best lives, rooted in our values and purpose. Each week, we'll discuss practical strategies focused on becoming intentional with all that we do so we can live and lead well. Together, let's make today count. Hello, my friend, and welcome. Welcome to episode 71, the Claim Your Day podcast. Glad you're here and joining in. Glad you're coming into this intentional reset series that we're in right now. Now, this is the third episode of this series, so if you missed any of the previous two, make sure you go back and check them out wherever you're listening to this podcast episode. You should be able to get those two episodes. And make sure you subscribe. That way you don't miss any of the upcoming ones. We have one more left in this series, but if you've been around, then you know I like to do short series on topics. That way we kind of hit a few different points along the way, give you some insights, some takeaways, some action steps, without having really long 45 or hour-long podcast episodes. If you're a busy parent professional, then you might not have a long time for a long episode. I know me. I don't have a long time to create the episodes just with family and work and all that. So it really works out for me having this format. I hope it does for you too. Look, so what we're talking about is this work-life balance, this guilt sometimes that comes from trying to have this perfect work-life balance. If you're a busy parent professional, then you know all about how there's this like mental load sometimes that just carries on from one activity to the next, and you're at work and you're with your family and you're trying to do all these things, and there's all these different kinds of distractions, and that silly phone won't stop pinging and dinging. You're with your family and then the work stuff comes across the phone, or vice versa. You're at work and you really just want to check in with the family and see how they're doing. And there's all those distractions, and that can be mentally draining, as well as it can increase our cortisol and our stress. And then also we're not as sharp because we're distracted by everything. And sometimes you just feel like you're not fully present anywhere, or that feeling of always having to be on. And that really is what can lead to this guilt of not being 100% present, not doing enough, not doing all the things, and you're just guilt of never being enough. So what we're going to dive into today is how to get rid of a lot of that. Now, I don't have a magic wand to make it all go away, but what we can do is we can try to do some simple little activities, some simple things that will help you to declutter some of that mental space. And I'm not saying get rid of the brain, but sometimes if we organize and clear out and just allow ourselves to be a little bit more present and to set just a few boundaries, what will end up happening is we'll be a lot more effective, we'll be more present where we're at, some of that guilt and stress will go down, we'll end up getting more work done, and we'll enjoy it. Now that sounds like a great trade-off for just a little bit of effort. So how are we going to go about doing this? Well, as you know, I have just a few simple points on how we can go about doing this mental load reset, and how we can reclaim some of our focus, especially in this noisy world. Well, the first point, and I'm going to reference one of John Maxwell's laws, and it has the law of the trade-off. And a lot of the trade-offs, it talks about, how you have to give up in order to grow up. And so how that applies to this is we're saying that we have to give up some of our always being connected. We have to give up some of our always being available as soon as that phone dings for any particular reason. It has our immediate undivided attention. We need to give that up so that we can gain a little bit of peace, a little bit of presence, a little bit of mental clarity. We'll even call it mental sharpness. See, you're not going to be able to be sharp and fully attentive and effective on what you're doing if you're always being distracted by the notifications and the dings that go off on that phone. If that phone can grab your 100% attention that fast, then you're not going to be able to be as effective at what you're doing and where you're at. And there's a long lag time. I've heard reports up to 23 minutes. If you're completely distracted off your task, it can take you up to 23 minutes after you've gotten back to that task to be fully focused to the degree of which you may have been when you were distracted. That's insane. That's almost half an hour. I mean, think about that. If you want to get some quality work done, but every 15 minutes, and that's a long time in between dings and notifications if you really think about it. Think about it, every 15 minutes, roughly, if that phone distracts you, you've never fully gotten back to your best working ability with the focus and dedication that you could be on any of the tasks that you're working on. No wonder we're not fully present. No wonder we're overloaded and overstressed and not as effective as we could be. And then no wonder we're feeling guilty about it because we're not allowing ourselves to fully focus on what we're doing. So the law of the trade-off from John Maxwell is just basically saying we have to be willing to give up something in order to get something. Well, that's not too profound. We know that. But what are we going to do about it? That's the kicker. What are we going to do about it? And the second point, this one's more related to Brendon Burchard's raising necessity, that we need to raise the necessity of what we want to accomplish. We need to make it so vital that we actually do it. And I'm going to step out on a little bit of a limb here. If this doesn't apply to you, then, you can just brush it off. But I'm going to step out on a little bit of a limb here that you would like to be more effective, more present, that you would like to be able to get more work done in less time, that you would like for the stress levels to go down a little bit, and your enjoyment and peace and mental sharpness and acuity and peace to go up. If that's true, then you need to raise the necessity of those things. And in order to do that, or by committing to raising the necessity, that means you're going to do what's necessary in order for those things to go up. And I think those things are really essential. Because if we're talking, a lot of times we're connected on our phones because we want to be able to get these things done and tune into it. But if we're thinking about our focus and our ability to focus, that phone is stealing our ability to focus. So what can we do about it? We know we're going to have to trade something off. We're going to have to trade something in order to get something. And we know we need to make it really essential and necessary for us to do this so that we can get the benefits and the outcome we want. So third point, so what? Well, now it's time to clear out some of that digital noise. I want you to commit to reclaiming your capacity for some of that deep work. I want you to reclaim your capacity to focus and be present. Because here's the kicker. If we're talking about work-life guilt and work-life balance and all that stuff, well, what it really comes down to is being completely present, doing your very best for what you're doing and where you're at. That's the kicker. That's the kicker. Because, 1 week you might be spending more time at work versus home, and if you're on vacation, it's going to be different. If you got a big project coming up, it's going to be different. So there's going to be seasons, days, weeks, whatever it is, that the exact time is going to look a little bit one way or the other. But the difference is if you're really present, doing your absolute best work, you're focused, you're effective, you're efficient, because you're zoned into what you're doing, you're going to get more done, you're going to be more effective, and you're going to feel good about it. It's when we allow ourselves to stay distracted that we just know we're just not as effective as we could have been. We're not as efficient. We didn't get all the things done. And it's that focus, and we're blocking out and putting boundaries around that. We're putting boundaries around our focus, and we're blocking out some of those distractions. That's what's going to allow you to do this. So we got to clear out some of that digital noise. So how are you going to do that? Well, first of all, you got to commit to it, because it's not fun. It's not easy. Or I should say, it's not fun, and that makes it challenging sometimes. It can be relatively easy. One of the things that really works for me, and I say that, and I don't have it down perfect, but I love this little switch that I can turn on my phone, and it's called Do Not Disturb. It's awesome. All my notifications except for notifications from contacts, and I can even get more granular than that and make it specific contacts on my phone. All notifications except for phone calls or text messages from certain contacts will be blocked out. I'm not all for being all that connected with automation and AI built into my phone. I mean, I know it's there a good bit, but one thing I did do is I tied it to certain locations. So if I go into the office, like boom, it automatically triggers my office. It's not quite as limited as Do Not Disturb, but it is pretty close. So I know as soon as I'm going into the office, my phone, it knows my location, and it's going to turn on those limits, and it's going to limit a whole lot of notifications really fast. And that helps me focus. Maybe what you need for you, so your phone's not a distraction for you, so your phone doesn't steal your attention and steal your presence away when you're with your family or when you're at work. Maybe what you need is a little bit different. Maybe you need some different settings. Maybe you need to allow certain apps to give you a notification. Maybe it's a limiting screen time because social media is in the back of your mind. It's pulling at you. It's pulling your attention, and you need to limit that. And so you limit how much time you're able to do on social media, and you limit that on your phone. See, in your settings, your settings of your phone actually have ways to configure it so that it can be less of a distraction to you, less distracting from the real world, from where you're at. When you can remove some of that distraction, it will help you to be more present. Now, it's not a magic cure. Obviously, there's still some work to be done on your part. But if you're willing to step out a little bit, to be a little bit bold, a little bit brave, and to turn down some of that distraction, turn down some of that digital noise that your phone's creating. Allow yourself to connect with the people around you, connect with the work that you're doing, to be present. That, it's not just going to help you to get more work done and be more effective. But when you're really present where you're at, then there's less guilt for not doing the things that are tied to where you're not at. There's less guilt for being at home and being present with your family. When all day working, you were 100% present at work. So you did your best at work because you were focused and you got done what you could get done. And then you stepped into your time with your family. And then it's easier to be present and feel good about it because you know you were effective doing the other. And vice versa. When you're with your family and you're 100% present with your family, you're not letting yourself get distracted by that digital noise coming off that phone and all the notifications. When you are 100% present with your family, then when it's time for you to work, you can feel good about it. There's no guilt there because you had such a good time being present with your family and you weren't distracted with that, and you gave them 100% of your attention, your mind, and you valued that time, and they could tell too. When you do that, then when it's time for you to work, you don't feel guilty about it. You're good about it because you're being present where you're at. That's where it all comes down to. All right, so what are you going to do? Are you going to commit to using those Do Not Disturb features on your phone so that you can limit how much it distracts you? So you can set a boundary around your focus and your attention. So you can set a boundary preventing some of those distractions to come through so that you can be 100% present where your feet are at. Will you commit to that? Now, that's kind of the low-hanging fruit. That's the smaller ask. If you're ready to be really bold, you can commit to a 24-hour digital fast this weekend. No phone at all. No email at all. Now, that's the big one. At the end of that, it's probably going to be kind of tough. But you talk about no distractions. That's amazing. If you're not ready for that, no worries. Use your Do Not Disturb. Limit those notifications during the times and at the places that you need to limit them so that you can be effective. Sound good, my friend? You can do it, and you can get the benefits and reap the rewards of it. It's just like the law of the trade-off. You got to give up something in order to get something. You will determine what's most important to you, and it's not by your words, it's not by your opinion, it's not by your viewpoint. You will determine what's most important to you truly by the actions and the choices you make. All right, here's to you, my friend. Thank you for listening to the Claim Your Day podcast. Glad you're joining in. Take action. Take action, my friend, and claim your day. Claim your day by being present where you're at and limiting those distractions. All right. Thank you for listening. Take care, and can't wait to talk to you again in the next episode.